Hey guys, it's Christy and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to talk about my top 10 favorite palettes for this summer. So before we get into it, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy, and let's get into it. Okay guys, so now that we're in June, I thought we would talk about my favorite palettes for summer. And when I think of the summertime, I think of neutrals, which I think are perfect for any time of year, but more so neutral to warmer tones. I see a lot of bronzes, a lot of golds. I see a lot of purple as well. I also, to some degree, think of more rosy tone shades. So I've pulled all of the palettes that I look at and I just feel summer. So let's hop right into it. The very first one at number 10, I picked the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Dreams Quad. So this was definitely a fairly new release, and this one is really pretty. So similar to the original Pillow Talk Quad, this does have 4 shades. There's a more pinkier one here, a more brown, a soft shimmery enhanced shade, and then there is the pop shade here, which is very sparkly. This one I think a little more summer because this one definitely pulls much more rosy. The pop shade has a lot more sparkle to it as well, so it's really going to enhance the eyes. It's very beautiful, and I just find it pulls so much more rosy than the original Pillow Talk Quad. So for me, this reminded me a lot of summer, and because this came out, I believe in April, May, I feel like that was the intention behind this little quad, and I think she nailed it. Okay, throwing it back a couple years to our number 9 palette is the Anastasia Soft Glam palette. So mine is a little dirty. This is just such a beautiful neutral palette. You've got all of your neutrals. You can do some pops of rose in here. We have rose pink, and then we have some of these golds as well, which I think really add to the summery effect for me. I think this palette is great for so many different times of year. I especially love this one in the fall as well. But for summer, I think this is just a classic, and I think it's so good. I love all of the looks I create with this. This is probably one of my most well-loved palettes in my collection. Yes, she's definitely well-loved, well-used. I really do enjoy this palette. And this one definitely comes to mind when I think of summer. A newer palette to my collection at number 8 is the Mcgrath Divine Rose 2 palette. So with these lighter shades over here, this bright pink, this fuchsia that shifts to green, I find so interesting. This beautiful sparkly gold. I think this is a very summer palette. I think this is definitely a very pigmented palette, but I think this is such a beautiful play on summer friendly shades. I do think I'll be playing with this one a lot more over the next few months. And I just think it's so beautiful. You do have to be careful. They're very pigmented, so you're gonna get a look when you create this. But that's not always a bad thing, and I think this is so pretty. So definitely wanted to mention this one as well. Okay, coming in at number 7 is one of my all-time favorite palettes, and this is the ABH Narvina Volume 5 palette. So this is one I have raved about, and this one I actually bought during a Black Friday sale, but it was released, I believe, for summer of 2021, and this is the one that makes me think summer, but make it purple. And this is just so beautiful. You have all of these bright pops of purple. I know these two shades look very similar, but they're different. These browns, they're all definitely very cool tone browns. So this is probably the one palette I have that is definitely more cool tone. I don't typically think cool tones for summer, but this is the one palette that really changes that a little bit. So you've also got this bright white, you've got this really beautiful sparkly shade. All of the shimmery shades in here are gorgeous. They're so stunning. And there's just a certain brightness to this palette that's so beautiful, but it's also just so versatile. You can do so many things. You can keep it pretty neutral, or you can go full glam with this, and I have loved this palette. This one was calling my name for the longest time, and I didn't really know why. I did not think I would be one to go for a giant purple palette, but this one just kept calling to me, and then finally I just gave in. I ordered it, and I'm so glad I did because it's one of my all-time favorites now. So I had to mention this one. Coming in number 6 is also a relatively new palette. This is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. So this is one that was released for holiday, but I kind of think it is, I definitely recommended it for spring, and I think it's beautiful going into summer as well, just with all of these neutral but rosy tones, and then you have some of these really, really interesting shifty shades here. These are so beautiful. I feel like those shades in particular just make this palette so interesting and so unique, and you can create such a dimensional look with this palette. So I had to bring this one in. Those light pinks are so pretty, and while these browns do pull a little more to the cool tone side of things, you can go very cool, or you can go very pink and rosy and beautiful, or you can go very pinky purple ethereal. It is so unique and so pretty, and I definitely plan to play with this one a lot more over the coming months as well. Alright, coming at number 5 is a palette that was released last year for summertime, and this is the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. So I know this one was not a favorite of some people. This one, I felt like people either loved or hated this one. I happen to really like it. So this one, you definitely have your warm tone side over here. You do have some cool tones over here. I think the way this one splits into earth tones and more warm tones, I just think that's unique, and there's something summery about this one, and you can make a really bright pop, especially with that breath shade, and all of these are just so pretty, and they actually do work quite well together. I personally struggle to use both sides at the same time. I usually need to split it up and use either the warm side or this side up here, but that doesn't bother me. I'm sure it can be done. I just haven't figured it out, but overall I do think this is very pretty for the summer. This is that type of palette that can be very neutral, can also go a little darker, can pull a bit gold if you want to, or you can just pop in these bright, airy pops of color that are in here that I think are so pretty with breath, calm, relief. Those are just really, really beautiful summery shades that just add such a nice pop of color to an otherwise pretty dark palette. But I do think of summer when I think of this one, so definitely adding this one to my list as well. Alright, coming in at number 4, we have a palette from Viseart, and this is the Paris Love Letter palette. So this one is also very pretty. This one is definitely much lighter of a palette than some of the others. You really only have one deep shade in here, so this is definitely one that's going to give you softer looks. But the way this peachy shade is, this kind of rose gold, this green especially, so pretty. I think this is very, very summery. You do kind of have this random gunmetal kind of a metallic over here, but then you get this one deeper brown as a deepening shade. So this is definitely a much lighter palette than some of the others. But this is just really, really pretty. It's easy to use, it's versatile, it gives you all of the neutrals and the ease of use, while also giving you some fun pops of color. And I feel like this is going to be more for somebody who wants to dip their toes into color but doesn't want to go all the way. I think that this is a great option, and because it's Viseart, the formula is phenomenal. So I think this Paris Love Letter palette is quite pretty. Okay guys, so top 3. Coming in number 3, I have the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette, and I had to put this one in. This is funny because, weirdly enough, I think I mentioned this for my spring recommendations just because of those brighter golds. I also place this as a fall palette, but I also think of it as a great summer palette because of those golds. Like, you're gonna get all of these beautiful neutrals that you want, but then you also get these beautiful, beautiful pops of gold, which to me are very summery. Like, very much makes me think of sunshine and sunny days and all of the things. So I definitely wanted to mention this one for summer. I pretty much mention this one for every season, I think, except winter, but I just think this is wonderful. I love it. I think it's so pretty, so I just wanted to give this one a mention. It's definitely one of my favorites for the summer months, so I had to add it in my top 3. Okay, coming at number 2 is from Huda Beauty, and this is the Mercury Retrograde palette. This one has been around for ages, but it's definitely newer to my collection. It is ranking higher than the Rose Quartz because you do get a bit more range with this one. The Rose Quartz, you're definitely either going to get more browns or you're going to get more rose. In here, you're going to get rose, you're going to get purple. You have some bright blues if you want. You have this pearly shade up here, which is interesting. This one is much more versatile. It has much more color options. This is also a great one if you're looking to dip into color, but you're looking for a really high-end option. I would highly recommend this one. I think it's beautiful. And again, this has some very ethereal, interesting multi-dimensional metallics in here, so I think this is a beautiful, beautiful option. I really, really love the color story of this one. So the color story of this just makes me so happy, and the shades, the formula, everything about this palette is so beautiful. Coming in number 1 is the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. So this one is fairly obvious. It's the bronze. It's all about the bronze. The one thing I don't like about this palette is that all of the looks tend to look very similar, but I will say they all look very beautiful. And these bronzes, the way she's named the shades, like you've got beach over here and sundown and suntan, I can't help but think of summer when I look at this palette. This one doesn't really call to me any other time of year other than summertime when I want these bronze and gold shades on my lids. So this is definitely coming to the top of my pile for the summer months. Very excited to use this one more, but those are my recommendations for my top 10 favorite palettes for the summer months. So let me know down below, what are your favorite palettes for the summer? I would love to hear, or I'd love to check out some more that I haven't already. But that is it for me today. Thank you so very much for watching. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do upload at least 3 new videos every single week, and that's it for me today. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!